He says, you have not gone up into the breaches. So there are breaches already. He goes, you have not gone up into those breaches, nor did you build a wall for the house of Israel to stand in battle on the day of Yahweh. So one of the jobs of not everybody, but leadership, specifically the leadership that's walking in the prophetic, and by walking in the prophetic, I'm not talking about as Christianity has taught you. I mean walking in anointed, inspired speaking. In other words, being able to take the word of Yahweh and to share it in a powerfully inspired way. He said, now, if you have that job, if you're called to that job, your job is to go and stand in those breaches. Like earlier when I was talking about tithing a little bit to you guys, like earlier when I talked about some of the rules about keeping the Passover, those are breaches that are out there. And when I say earlier, for those of you who are listening to this, that was not on recording, that was just part of our normal service time. But those are breaches that need to be stood up and put walls against, because that's where our walk is lacking, because people are thinking that, oh, this is okay to do because nobody stood against it. This is okay. This is an approved behavior because I see others doing it. See what a breach will do? In a garment, it's a hole that gets bigger and bigger, the tear. But in a group, the group watches people doing, especially if they're new, and they go, oh, I don't know how to do this, but I just saw so-and-so doing it. That must be the right way to do it. And then it ends up being duplicated and copied and duplicated and copied until everybody's doing error. Because after all, they learned it from watching. Here's it even worse. They learned it from the leadership behind the microphone. You know how that comes about? It comes about because you got a guy who had a microphone who was Pentecostal, or he was Baptist, or he's Methodist, or whatever he was, and he came to realize that, you know what, Sunday is not right. I need to move to Saturday, and I need to stop eating certain things and switch to holy days. But doctrinally, he's still whatever he was, and he keeps the microphone and keeps preaching, but now he's preaching on Saturday, and he's keeping feasts instead of Christmas and Easter, and now everybody thinks he must know what he's talking about. And so people come in, and they're now learning Messacostal or Messabaptist. They're not learning Hebraic truth, Torah. They're learning it through the filter of a denomination. And the people coming in don't know that's what they're hearing. They're just hearing it, and they don't know that it's not correct. Because after all, they got these big things fixed up, right? We're now on Shabbat. We're not on Sunday. We're now doing the 7 feasts. The holy days, the 5 feast days with the 7 annual feasts on it, 7 annual Sabbaths on it. Okay? So we have all that going on. But what about all the other doctrinal positions? Understanding all of the other things that they learned in their seminaries, where they learned how to speak and teach Baptist or Methodist or Pentecostal or whatever other denomination, there's a million of them, Lutheran, it doesn't matter, fill in the blank. They learned how to teach that way of seeing things. Isn't that what you go to seminary to do? To learn how to come out and teach people to be whatever that seminary's denomination is. And so here, you've got people that have been going along for generations, and they've watered down and weakened their Torah observance, and so that all of Israel is just saying, but we're just following the leadership. And this is what the leadership is doing. And the leadership has said this is okay. The leadership has allowed this. Because in Israel, you see Jeremiah all upset because he walks around, he sees that there are vendors selling idols in Jerusalem. How did the leadership allow that? Now, what's a person to think who's now moved into Jerusalem and says, oh, it must be okay, they're allowing this? If you walk into, I've been to an MJA congregation, I'm not saying they're all this way, so I'm not attacking them, but the one I had gone to, they would sell you tickets for Passover on Shabbat. They would do other things that are not appropriate on Shabbat, and people who come there would just assume, well, it must be okay because they're doing it. The leadership is doing this, it must be okay. If you're a new person, how would you know any different? And so what Yahweh's saying here through Ezekiel is, look, and by the way, it's not just in Ezekiel's time, obviously I've been talking about our time. He's saying, look, there are foolish prophets out there, people that are fools who are still claiming to be speaking with authority. And by fools, I don't mean that I'm not trying to mock them. They just haven't gone and gotten re-educated yet. Instead of getting re-educated, they kept the mic. Or there was somebody that other groups never would have given a mic, but now with the public ease of YouTube and Facebook, they decided to take their own mic and establish themselves and self-anoint and self-appoint, and now they've got an audience. Because you can always find an audience. No matter what nonsense you want to teach, trust me, you'll find an audience. Because there'll be somebody out there that likes what you have to say because it matches up what's in their own heart, and so you'll find your audience. It may not be big, it may be huge, who knows? I could have literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people listening to me right now if I wanted to. All I'd have to do is change the message to what I know they want to hear. That's all I'd have to do. This place could be packed. I could have this place just rocking and packed. I'd have YouTube rocking and packed. I'd be wanted to speak everywhere because I could push all those buttons, no problem at all. But to what benefit? I wouldn't be standing in the breach. Yahweh's looking for those that would stand in the breach. And it's just like in Ezekiel 22 at the end of that chapter, and we're going to get to that eventually, not today. He says, I was looking for somebody to stand in the breach, and I couldn't find anybody. By the way, he's not talking about individuals. He's still talking about leadership. I'm looking for men in leadership to stand up and stand in the breach, to make a wall. Now, by the way, those of you who want to attack the Jewish leadership over the centuries after coming out of Babylon, they thought what they were doing with the Talmud was making a wall. Now, that's not to say it didn't get out of control and didn't go too far and didn't end up with some problems, but understand that there is a heart behind that. They were worried about this kind of condemnation. The idea of not making a wall, not filling the breach. And so they tried to make a wall with all of this Talmudic rules about things so that they would not have people breaking things. So that was their intent when they got started. Not all good intentions always end up in total fulfillment. Sometimes things get a little out of hand, and that's what happened with the Talmudic stuff. But just realize, I believe it was an attempt to do some of this. Because this is scathing the attacks that they're getting from the Almighty about the problems that they had and why they're going to end up in such trouble and why they're going to end up into captivity and all these kind of things. So they need to know, look, Yahweh is concerned with people not putting a protective wall around to make sure that they're guarding the commands.